Allbirds is dedicated to making stylish, comfortable footwear using premium natural materials designed for life's everyday adventures. Go to allbirds.com and find your pair of light, breezy, comfy shoes made from trees. The Tree Runner from Allbirds.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the deck. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom, boom.
Welcome to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose is out today. We are blessed with a special guest in for Jalen, Ryan Hollins. Thanks so much for doing the show today, Ryan.
Oh, my man. What's going on, brother? How you been?
Been great. Thanks for joining us this weekend on Hoop Streams. Hoop Streams is a new project we got going on. It's live on Twitter around the finals games and the draft lottery. Thanks so much for doing that with me and Ryan Russillo this weekend.
Shout out.
So, during the television section, we're going to talk about last night's game. We're talking about the Eastern Conference. And we spoke about the Western Conference yesterday, but that was with Jalen. So I want to get your take on this. It seems like the Warriors are the prohibitive favorites, not just in Vegas, but amongst most basketball minds. So my question for you is, what would have to happen in order for the Rockets to come out on top in this series?
James Harden would have to get in. He would have to get in his bag. And I mean, like, he would have to get in one of the most ridiculous zones we've ever seen. And then Clint Capella right now, he's the X factor in this series for me because he can actually play in a small ball lineup as a big player. Mm-hmm. And he would have to demoralize every single matchup he has. Every opportunity he has a guy 6'8" and under at him, he's going to have to finish at the rim. And that, honestly, is Houston's only smoking shit. Like Harden can't just disappear, dude, for a game or two at a time.
That's what he does, though. That's what he does. In a six-game
series. Why we don't like him.
Well, I would say this. I agree with you. When I initially posed that question to myself, I said it's going to be like 3 40-point games from Harden if they're going to come out on top of this. And maybe even like a CP3 game like we saw in the last one. But Capella I find really interesting, and I bet you gravitate towards Capella because you were kind of Capella-ish yourself when you were in the league.
Absolutely.
You know, tall and athletic and all over the place blocking shots and dunking. But who do you put on Capella, and will the presence of Capella force the Warriors to start someone like JaVale McGee instead of like the death lineup?
This is when we get spicy. I think you want to get spicy right now. We're going to get a little dangerous. Golden State doesn't have a big that consistently plays because they play the matchups. If they feel like they got a good matchup, it might be McGee, might be Zaza, might be Looney, or none of the above. So Houston with Capella, he's actually a guy who plays against every single team.
Yeah.
So if you force in the NBA in the Western Conference Finals McGee on the floor when you really don't want him on the floor, that could be a matchup that Harden's able to expose rather than Golden State just switching every single pick and roll, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to throw Kevon on him, and then, Kevon Looney's going to be switching out on the pick and roll. And if you have McGee out there, you don't necessarily want McGee, and you definitely don't want Zaza switching out on the pick and roll with Harden.
I mean, I think that's one of the ways that D'Antoni's going to try to exploit this, because clearly everyone's switching everything now, which I understand, but everyone switches everything. And if you have someone like Zaza or McGee out there, we all know what's going to happen. Capella sets a pick, Harden goes over the pick, and then he dribbles backwards for 4 dribbles, and then next thing you know, everyone spreads out, and then everyone's just watching JaVale McGee stand in front of Harden, back up so far, then Harden steps into a 3 and makes it, because that's what he does. So it does seem, you brought up someone interesting as Looney. Like, couldn't you see Looney being sort of the right mix of size and athleticism that he could try to guard Capella down low, but could also stand in front of someone like Harden or Paul, try to?
Yeah, and that's why Kevon has been so special in these playoffs, because he's guarded 1 through 5. It hasn't really been the scoring, but defensively, I mean, you saw him guarding Anthony Davis, and nobody in the league this year has been able to guard AD. He's been lights out, and then you could see him big, like we just talked about, him switching on to Harden. That's definitely a key. And then the difference, if you're Houston, if they do switch out, Is Capella going to take advantage of the matchups? Is he going to rebound on them? Is he going to finish at the rim if it's Iguodala on him? If it's a Looney, is Looney too small? I mean, Looney was even guarding Aldridge on the block with no help in a lot of situations in that San Antonio series. So, Kevon Looney could be an X factor, but I say if Houston has to win, like Capella's got to, demolish. Like, it has to be, like, ever seen it, like a big down there, like, it's almost personal for us, like a guy who's not a center, not a big guard, and I got to score the ball every time.
Yes. Now, one thing that everybody always says is role players play better at home, right? It's just sort of one of these like basketball fundamental, philosophies that people feel. Now, I want to ask you, as someone who's a bit of a role player yourself, why do people accept that as fact, and is it true?
Well, role players play off what the stars do. And when you're on the road, it's so easily, if you're not a mentally tough team, like a San Antonio or a 10, 15 year experienced team, that you can get away from what you do best. And then you'll see a little more one-on-one basketball. And us role players, as I was for 10 years in the NBA, we don't play one-on-one basketball too often. Sometimes you got those Lou Williams or the Jamal Crawfords where their role is to score. But if you're a guy that relies on, defense or rebounding or screen setting, or you're playing within the offense, a lot of times on the road, the offense gets thrown out. So that's a big factor in a series, having home court advantage versus not. And the Rockets are taking care of business. So, we're going to look forward a little more now, and I'm going to tell you, if Golden State does it, they got to do it in 6, because trust me, you don't want to go back to Houston, get these guys believing that they're a game away from the NBA Finals, and that's what you give up when you don't have home court advantage.
And I ask about the role players, and I ask about the home court advantage, because one thing that the Jazz did is they were like, all right, there's no one on this team that we can just leave open. I mean, Daryl Morey has constructed a roster where everyone out there it's either Clint Capella and a bunch of people that can shoot 35% from 3 at least. And what the Jazz said, you know what? PJ Tucker's the guy that we're going to get off. PJ Tucker is the guy that we're going to kind of let them shoot. If it's PJ Tucker in the corner or PJ Tucker from the wing, we can live with that. And do you think that the Warriors will employ something similar?
Absolutely, because if you do that, it gasses your defense. And that was the difference. If I'm going to look over to the Eastern Conference, everybody's like, well, Philly looked so great against the Heat because there were guys they didn't have to guard. Embiid was roaming off of Whiteside, but when they played Boston, you saw 5 guys who you had to guard. Toronto team did not have 5 guys who you had to guard. OG Anunoby, Pascal, at times you can sag off in the lane and make them have to beat you in other ways, and they don't have the ball in their hands. So LeBron just walked over Toronto also for those reasons. So that's the thing about the Houston team. Is PJ Tucker going to make shots? Is Trevor Ariza going to make shots? Is Luke Bamute, if he's on the floor, going to make shots? And those guys are vital because they got to have somebody to guard KD. Now it's a big problem because KD has to rest. What does Golden State have? 2-way players. We can't sag off of Iguodala anymore. No. I think there's you probably can help me with this. There's like a crazy stat, like when he's open from the corners, like he's shooting like 70% from 3. Like it's something ridiculous.
Happen that much. Small sample size, but it is like 66%. And you saw that with Draymond in the Pelican series too. One thing I liked about Gentry is he knew the Warriors roster, and he had some gimmicky defenses to throw out there. They were just like, Draymond, we're just going to leave you alone. Like, not just sag off of you. We're going to leave you alone and just dare you to shoot. And you can kind of tell with him, if he made the first couple, then that would change. But do you think that they'll do the same thing there?
You have to. And that could be a big problem. Because I was looking at him like, dude, is Draymond back at Michigan State? Is he playing the center? Like, why is he so gun shy? And you actually saw Kerr draw some plays, so we call it big above. So there were moments where Draymond would get the ball, and because his man was so far off, this is what's dangerous about that. He would throw the ball and catch and pitch into a pick and roll, and he'd set a screen and get Klay Thompson, get Curry wide open. So he would almost pass up a shot. But in a sense, I don't like that because they're so dangerous when he's shooting the ball. And I'm like, dude, where did your confidence go? Like, what is wrong? Like, shoot the ball. That's not Tom Izzo telling you to play center. Like, all right, get him up. All right, Mac Jackson taught you better.
Yeah, and he's not Rondo. You know what I mean? Like, he shoots a pretty good clip from 3. Like, he can shoot it. And I always feel like if he is that open, he doesn't want to shoot, then just drive hard at the basket and draw a defender and then do what you do best, which is like distribute and find the open person. How do you think? I mean, one thing that we learned is Steph Curry's back, but he is coming off an injury, and I feel like last year, this late in the playoffs, Kevin Durant seems to be that go-to alpha scorer. If you're D'Antoni, like, you can't put Ryan Anderson on Durant. You know, you can't put PJ Tucker on Durant. Like, it's almost like you have to put two players on him. And what do you think they'll do to him defensively?
Another key to this series, why Golden State is my favorite in a landslide, is they have two-way players. So when we get back in the war room, when I've been in the playoffs, and you game plan and you say, hey, we're going to sag off this guy, we're going to give extra help, because everybody in the NBA, those scorers are so good, you can't just play them straight up. So having somebody to actually have to guard Durant, but knowing is it offense or is it defense, always presents a problem. See, Golden State's got one guy on their lineup that they have to worry about that with. It's Steph Curry. Steph is a good team defender, but we're never going to leave him on the island. But there's only one guy on that roster that you really have to worry about in that sense. And let's say it's Kevon Looney. Well, Draymond can play the 5 in certain situations, so it never really becomes a problem with them. But no, I get exactly what you're saying. Like, that is what they call it, the death lineup. That's why they're calling it the death lineup, because you pick your poison on one end or the other.
Yeah, and they call it the death lineup before Durant even got there. You know, now you add Durant to it. It feels like one thing that they did do is the Rockets said this offseason, they said, all right, we picked up Chris Paul, but not as important, but almost as important is Luke Mbamute, and PJ Tucker, because they play defense. Could you see Mbamute getting more minutes? Could you see him standing in front of Durant and giving it his best?
He's going to have to play. He's the closest. I played with Luke in college, and he's probably one of, like, the most underratedly strongest players I played against. Like, I remember hitting Luke a couple times, but like, dude, like, you're really strong, and you can move your feet. And then he just keeps progressing and does this thing on the NBA level. So, man, he could definitely be a headache, or he's a guy that Durant is going to have to see because of his size and length. And you know what? Luke, I'm not worried about as much because he's more of a ball handler. He really hasn't been guarded for his shot his entire career, but it is ugly, if he misses 2 or 3 three-pointers and you're trying to keep up with Golden State's pace and they just hit 4 straight baskets in a row, you got to match offense for offense. That's why last year's final, LeBron James was on the sidelines huffing and puffing and said, man, I need some help. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, and one thing the Pelicans did to the Warriors, which I was surprised by, but it's something the Pelicans have been doing all season, is every time the Warriors made a basket, they're just trying to get up the floor as fast as possible. Like, it seemed like the Pelicans were trying to match the Warriors' pace, which is partly one of the reasons that they were demised. And the Rockets have a different thing. The Rockets kind of stand at the top and wait and dribble out, wait for the screen to come and kind of eat up the whole shot clock and shoot the ball usually under 10 seconds. Do you think that's the right approach when you're playing the Warriors?
No, and this is another key, man. I don't know if you've been reading my notes or something. I don't know what you got going on.
I've been watching the games.
Brother, listen, this is incredibly dangerous because I would describe Golden State as their offense is so dangerous because they play in principles. So when we had game plan for Golden State, we knew a handful of their plays, but it was more like, let's watch the concepts that they do. Draymond popping behind the screen, him sprinting into a half-court screen, or them playing the big above action. If we a hard show, expect you're on a 2-on-1 at the rim with him coming, looking to throw that little lob. And they just play with principles. We'll call that organized chaos. Mm-hmm. When it hits the fan for Houston, what do, Jacoby?
They just give the ball to Harden and he dribbles it out.
It's a lot of one-on-one.
Yeah.
And what happened? Last year's finals, LeBron, Kyrie, they ran offense in the fourth quarter. It was like, all right, Kyrie, your turn. And you saw him going, hey, Bron, your turn. Who gets it done? And on the other end, Golden State's whipping that thing around the horn. They actually have experience in doing that. They have guys that fit. They got, let's just take Curry out the equation. You got 3 other point guards who could be on the floor at the same time. You hear me? Mm-hmm. So you got Draymond, you got Iguodala and Livingston who can all play in the same lineup, man. Dude, that's a problem. And Houston can't say that they have that other than Chris Paul, who, it was a nice performance. It was exciting.
Don't say
it. He ain't the same, brother.
Don't say it.
He ain't the same.
Did you play with him? No, he came to the Clippers after you were there, right?
Are you kidding me? I had 2 years with Christopher.
Okay. Well, I have some questions then. When you say he's not the same,
when you say this.
When he said he's not the same, he's not that old. He's 33 years old. We just watch him on his birthday.
He's not the same,
go
brother.
off. I mean, what isn't the same about him? He doesn't have to do the same things either.
Maybe you forgot. Maybe you forgot. The folks at home forgot. There was a little dude in New Orleans. who used to tuck that thing through the hole like a running back and would score about 35, 25, and 9 rebounds or 9 steals a night, who would just run through the NBA. Chris is a liability on defense. He has to hide. He has to use his intelligence now. Yeah. This ain't the same Chris Paul. This ain't the same dude who could bulldog through screens and essentially, kind of lock up his man and then gorge you on the other side of the floor. This is the Chris Paul who has to pace himself, who uses his intelligence and knows, all right, if I use this screen, I'm putting you on my hip and I'm getting to my little mid-range jumper. So this isn't the same guy. This Chris Paul struggles finishing at the rim, okay? And especially going left. There are moments he can finish, but he ain't the same tucking in there and taking contact and just really, he could literally will in his mind whatever he wanted to do. So people have no idea how good Chris Paul was. He's still very good, but he's physically limited, man. He's a shell of himself of what he used to be. And it's probably hard for you to stomach me saying this because he just had 40, 10, and no turnovers.
But it's interesting because when I hear that from you, the first thing I think about is, perhaps he considered that himself when he made the decision to go to the Rockets, where there is James Harden there instead of being on the Clippers, where he's asked to be the possession every single possession.
The new Allbirds Tree Runners are comfy shoes made from trees. When you put them on, they feel light and breezy. They're so comfy, they're like walking barefoot through a patch of 4-leaf clovers on a spring day. But they also look good, too. They come in a bunch of limited edition colors and are designed simply with no unnecessary logos. Allbirds is on a mission to prove that comfort, style, and sustainability don't have to be mutually exclusive. Go to allbirds.com and find your pair of light, breezy, comfy shoes made from trees. The Tree Runner from Allbirds.
The Celtics and Sixers game from last night. The Celtics processed another L for the Sixers, ending their season. After the game, Ben Simmons went up to Joel Embiid, held his hand open to Joel Embiid, and said, there's going to be a lot of rings on these fingers. Before we get to the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, what do you think about Ben Simmons' confidence about the future of the 76ers?
I wish he had showed him like a gym schedule of, hey, I'm going to be working on my jump shot Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You know what? I don't want to say you're kidding me. I don't want to say it's ridiculous. But you got Brown, you got Tatum over there, even Scary Terry's in the house now. I mean, you got some dudes to deal with who just popped you, and this is not a LeBron team that just beat you. He said, okay, LeBron's going to be, 4 or 5 more years of this, at best. So I'm a little concerned for my man's confidence, but I'm not going to knock it until I see it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the jump shot, because one thing that really just staggered me when I was watching the game last night was this shot chart from Ben Simmons. This is Ben Simmons' entire series shot chart. He didn't shoot from outside about 16 feet. He didn't make from outside of 15 feet.
It looks like my shot chart.
When you look at that, what does that tell you?
It's a lack of confidence. And I appreciate as a coach, a guy who knows who he is on the floor, a guy who knows his role. But when you're calling this dude Magic Johnson, when you calling this dude number 23, Bron James, the next one, I've always told people, and I've always said, like, when you throw out that greatness tag, you got to chill on that. Because that dude is crazy to spend 1.5 on his body, LeBron James. Kobe Bryant spends months in isolation, getting to the gym at 4 or 5 in the morning and watching film all night long. Kevin Garnett never let the game rest. Tim Duncan is a weirdo. There's so many different things that go along with being great. Magic Johnson is still cheating at UCLA in pickup games.
I heard that too.
These dudes are crazy.
I heard that before.
Right. Like Michael Jordan would come to practice with the Bobcats and he'd be challenging guys in one-on-one, and you couldn't beat him because he was going to grab you and foul you. You couldn't touch him. Like these dudes are like there's something off. There's something different. I just don't see it in Simmons. I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to be an all-star. He's one of the young talents, man. But talent is here. And crazy is over there. All right, you don't even see my hand. That's crazy. That's 5 guys. Okay.
Well, you don't have a lot of confidence in the future of Simmons and Embiid, but Embiid has plenty for everybody. Here's what he had to say at the podium after the game.
Me and Ben, we have a lot of room to grow, and I was thinking about it, just looking at KD and Westbrook, what they did the first season together. I think they only won like 28 games or something like that. Then, I mean, looking at what we did, we got a bright future.
They clearly have a bright future. What do you think about Embiid comparing the two of them to KD and Westbrook?
Well, I wish they compared him to somebody who got rings at the same time. Maybe Steph and Clay.
Oh.
But honestly, for the other reasons, I do love this Embiid guy. He's the best big man we have in the league right now. Playing the center position, playing the forward position, whoever I had to guard the other team's best post a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And he's a natural big who can shoot the three, who can put it on the deck. He's got touch, and he doesn't mind getting nasty inside. Now, he's the best big, and that dude, mark my words, he's stone crazy. Right? You don't need me to tell you that. He's stone crazy. That dude's going to be one of the greatest things we've ever seen. It's just Simmons has some work to do. I think Simmons is a normal human being like the rest of us, okay? No disrespect, but I think the dude's an incredible talent. But that Embiid dude, hey, he's loco, man. He's loco. He's going to be great.
I love that crazy is so high on the priority list of attributes that you want from your NBA athletes. It's one of the reasons I like you.
Have you not realized the closer you get to us NBA players, like we are all burnt out and crazy, Jacoby? Come on, man. Like, you're seeing this
in a lot of different ways. Moving on to the future of this season in basketball, we have the exact same Eastern Conference Finals matchup we had last year, but with all new people involved. My question for you is this. Going into this series, it just seems like everyone is favoring the Cavs. Everyone, analysts and Las Vegas. The Celtics have home advantage. They've got one of the best coaches in the game. They're coming off a really dominant series against the Sixers. Why does everyone favor the Cavs?
He looks so good against Toronto. But mark my words, this is going to be probably one of LeBron's biggest tests yet because he can't rest on defense. Okay, in Toronto, he could chill on the defensive end and then come back and get it. Now, when he's playing against this Boston team, they have 5 guys who can shoot the three. They have 5 guys who can put it on the deck other than Aaron Baines if he's in the lineup or not. That presents a problem. Why, Jacoby? Because you can't rest. And it's an equal opportunity offense, which Brad Stevens has presented. Scary Terry, Eric Bledsoe was like, man, who's this dude? We don't have to guard him. He's the 5th man on the lineup. Boom, taking a game winner. Scary Terry's posting pictures with Drew Bledsoe, all right? So you have to guard everybody in the lineup, and that's going to be the biggest challenge. And also how Golden State beats LeBron is what? They've got bodies to throw at him. Yep. What does Boston come back and reloaded with in free agency? They got bodies to throw at him. Markieff Morris, Brown, Tatum. You know, it was supposed to be Gordon Hayward, but nonetheless, they have long, rangy guys who can at least, stay in front of them at the time with a little bit of experience, and that really helps.
I'm really glad you brought this up. So imagine Brad Stevens calls your phone, 617 number, you just pick it up, and he's like, hey, Ryan, I saw you on Jalen Jacoby, great analysis. I need your advice, though. What do we do to stop or limit LeBron James in this series? What would be your answer?
You got to be physical. It's got to be bigger than basketball. I said a couple days ago, you got to take the Lance Stevenson approach. You got to get in LeBron's head. They got a guy in the lineup who's going to be really instrumental if he can just stay out of foul trouble. But he's going to have to toe the line of fouls and technicals in Markieff Morris. And Markieff is going to have to headbutt LeBron. He's going to have to challenge LeBron to fight during the series a couple times. He's going to have to put his hands on him because right now,
I think Marcus Morris is on the Celtics, but I'm glad that I think both of them should try to challenge him to a fight.
Man, they're the same person.
Should probably challenge him to a fight too.
Hey, since they were 8th graders, I couldn't tell the difference between them, and I can't tell the difference now. Okay,
I like it. So finally, one quick question about rotations. It seems like the Celtics have settled down to their 7-8 man rotations. They kind of have their normal thing. Then you look at the other side, the Cavs, like, they play 8 people a game, but it seems like they pick from a pool of about 12 people who's going to play. Which do you think is better, like a team that fluctuates like that, or a team like the Celtics is kind of set in their ways?
Well, it's tough because you never know what you're going to get. The Cavs lineup is like a box of chocolates. J.R. Smith, how you going to feel today? Jordan Clarkson, how you going to feel today? Those guys are capable of, big 20-point performances, but if they don't get hot early, they're not going, you don't know what you're going to get. But a great sign for Cleveland is you got Kevin Love rolling now. He's kind of getting into his groove. I played with Kev. Kev's one of the smartest players I've ever played with. So once he knows where he can get his shots from, he knows his spots on the block, he knows his matchups. Kevin is very, very effective, and you saw that last series. And he's another guy with a tough one because when they switch, That's not going to be, a point guard guarding him. That's going to be Markieff Morris. That's going to be Smart. That's going to be a guy a little bulkier, a little stronger, a little taller in that lineup guarding him. So, check for that, too. K-Love is going to have his hands full.
Well, now Jalen and I are mama's boys. We're also parents. And Mother's Day is coming up. And there is no one day. There is no one gesture. There is no one thing. There is no one present, one experience that you can provide that can appropriately show your appreciation for everything that a mother does. It's not just your mother. Sometimes it's your baby's mother. Or it's your sister who's a mother. Or it's someone in your family that's a mother. Or it's a good friend that's a mother. Mothers want to feel appreciated, cared for, and loved on Mother's Day. So show her how much you care to the lady who taught you everything you know about caring with a Hallmark card. Presents are nice, flowers are nice, experiences, going to restaurants or shows, that's all nice. But a heartfelt words are going to show your love and appreciation more than anything else. And Hallmark has a variety of different cards. They have the sweet, the sentimental ones that'll touch your emotional strings. And they also have the funny ones that'll make you laugh out loud. They have a variety of cards that can help you put your love into words for your mother. Let her know how much she matters. It's a way of saying thank you for all the sleepless nights and selfless acts of love that your mother or the women in your lives that are mothers have done forever. Go out and find the perfect Hallmark Mother's Day card today. You can find them wherever Hallmark cards are sold. I haven't done that yet, and I'm already realizing it's getting too late. Don't be like me. As soon as you can, get yourself a Hallmark card for the women in your life that are mothers. Us Weekly printed this story from an insider that knows Tristan Thompson and Khloe Kardashian. And this insider said the following. I have to read this because it's so good. Quote, Tristan explained to Khloe that there were women constantly throwing themselves at him, and he felt pressure not to refuse them because it's an unspoken rule in the NBA that players hook up with groupies on the road. Ryan, do you feel pressure to hook up with young ladies when you're on the road as an NBA player?
No, I did not. No, you do not. This is the cheapest, most low-down move. Listen, Tristan, I played with your brother. You weren't this type of man when we were in Cleveland together. I don't know how LeBron has changed you. Come on, man.
It does feel like
throwing other people in your nonsense.
I like it how he makes it seem like he was doing charity work. You know what I mean? He's like, I just didn't want to let these people down. I didn't want to let my players down. I didn't want to let them down. I had to do it. Really makes it seem like it's like his obligation to the community to hook up with women that were not his baby mama or girlfriend.
And this is part of the growth. When you grow up, when you become a man, you gotta own your own stuff, man. You made a mistake. You made your bed. You gotta sleep in it, man. Don't pull other players into it. Look, Tristan, we never told you to go do some dirt when you on the road. That's some new LeBron team stuff, man. You start wearing the fur coats and the leggings and the outfits, man. Look, hey, bro, don't draw us into that, okay? Nobody in that locker room told you to do that. I don't know what this new locker room looks like, but do not throw your teammates in your nonsense, brother. Come on, man, just own it.
Donovan Mitchell, after had a great rookie year, had a great playoffs, and after it was all said and done and they lost to the Rockets, he said that he's going to spend his offseason watching all 97 games that he had this year. This seems like overkill to me. Like, this does not seem necessary. Ryan, did you ever spend your offseason watching every single game from the previous year?
I've watched every single shot that I've taken, but I've never watched every single game. And Donovan Mitchell has taken a whole lot more shots than Ryan Hollins took. So
that's a good point.
This is not realistic.
It just seems like I would go to the beach for a couple weeks, spend some time with my family. You know what I mean? Get away from the game for a little bit before I watch every single second of every single game. We did a lot of math on this, and if you watch the actual broadcast, it would take something like 14,000 minutes. But if you watch the meltdown, it's just 48 minutes apiece. It's around 4,600 minutes, which is about 77 hours. It just seems like a lot.
Come on, man.
It just seems like a lot. It just seems like I would probably have someone else just to kind of tell me what I need to work on and then work on that. Finally, Charles Oakley told a TMZ camera that he is not interested in burying the hatchet with James Dolan. Your thoughts, Mr. Hollins?
Well, James Dolan was absolutely wrong. He kind of jumped on Charles Oakley for being Charles Oakley. This is the same dude that you loved when he was snagging rebounds and elbowing guys and being the enforcer in New York. He's a New York legend, man. So Dolan, look, man, reach out to the people, man. This is your connection to the people, man. Hey, free Oak, man. This is
free
my
Oak.
Big Three coach right here,
Free
man.
Oak.
Free Oak.
Free Oak.
Oak. Free Oak.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So it was all good.
Here on the show, not everything in the world of sports and pop culture is worth discussing, so we have a segment called Keep It Moving.
We be moving, you know we keep it moving.
If it's not worth discussing, you tell me to keep it moving. If you want to talk about it, you say hit the brakes. You ready? Got it. David Fizdale refuses to discuss LeBron James coming to the Knicks. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes. Of course he refuses to discuss this because LeBron ain't coming. It ain't a chance. There ain't a snowball's chance he's coming. He's going to the Lakers. Come on, man. Everybody knows that. Unless he wins a championship this year.
Wait. What? You're saying it's either a championship for the Cavs or he's going to the Lakers, and then you're saying everybody knows that? That's really what you're going to say on Wax?
Everybody knows that, yeah. Championship for Lakers.
Okay, championship for Lakers. I like it. You're insane. A soccer team narrowly missed relegation in the Premier League, and they celebrated by canceling their flight and taking a party bus. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hey, man, keep it moving. Let's keep going.
Okay.
We be moving, you know we keep it moving.
Ricky Williams was inspired to invest in Bitcoin by a planet. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes.
Ricky Williams said that Uranus entering Taurus told him to invest in Bitcoin. Here's my thing about Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams is giving stoners a bad name. Like, it's like so stereotypical. It's like, come on, Ricky. Like, come on, Ricky. Like, we all know you smoke weed. You do not have to say things like this to convince us that you smoke weed.
Hey, man, the NFL players are probably losing their mind because they're like, look, man, our bodies hurt. We want to smoke weed so we can feel better.
Yeah. They're trying to make it legal. Exactly. It's like, come on, Ricky, you're taking us 2 steps back. If you want NFL players to have legal marijuana use, saying things like this is not helping the cause, Ricky. Not helping the cause at all. Moving on. A Brazilian soccer legend has the key to winning the World Cup. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes.
1994 champ Romario was asked by current player Gabriel Jesus how to win the World Cup. And his answer was, quote, just have a lot of sex.
Okay. This reminds me of some nonsense that I heard. My senior year at UCLA, we're at a barbecue. I pulled Bill Walton aside because he's there. I'm like, man, dude, this is Bill Walton, storied UCLA legend, center. Bill, what can you tell me about my senior year? We want to win. We want to do what you guys did. We want to bring it back. What can we do?
What was that information that legend gave you? He looked over at
me, red eyes and all, said, run. And I said, well, Bill, anything?
Does he mean like right now from him, or did he mean like on the floor?
I assume on the floor. He didn't get any more in depth. He told me to run. This is a similar story. You know what? Hey, I just took it in stride, and we did well that year, so maybe his advice worked out.
Yeah.
Run.
Did you win the championship that year?
We didn't win. We got blasted. Right. You knew we got blasted in the championship.
Just slip my mind. Just slip my mind. The scuffle between the Cubs and the Marlins made NBA fights look like the UFC. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Hit the brakes.
Okay.
Hit the brakes.
During this little baseball hold me back scuffle, former teammates Chris Bryant and Starlin Castro, it got interesting. For started here, little apology at the plate. They kind of get in each other's face. It's just more of a discussion than anything. Now watch Bryant there. He's tickling Castro in the middle of a skirmish. He goes for the tickle. Soft move or boss move, tickling somebody in the middle of a mob.
That's kind of low-key like a boss move because it's kind of like, yo, I'm really not intimidated by you. Like, it's not that serious. Like, I think about James Johnson when he kind of tapped Serge Ibaka and looked at it. Wasn't a hit because he could have laid Serge out. He just kind of tapped and was like, you know what I could have just done to you right there, right?
Yes. James Johnson's the one that has a black belt in every single type of martial art.
Exactly. Hey, I saw Joey Graham and James Johnson locked up one time. I was in Cleveland, and I swear to you, not a player, not a referee jumped in between that. It was like two pit bulls. Hey, somebody get the water, man. Watch those two.
Next, Amazon's Alexa is being built into many homes built by the home builder Lennar. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
So, one of the largest home builders in the nation is now inserting Alexa into their home. So you cannot buy a home without Alexa already in there. This concerns me. This concerns me a lot. Around this show, we have a tech problem pretty much every single day. Do you know what I don't want to have a tech problem? My house. Like, my phone cannot work, my computer cannot work. I don't want my house to not work. I don't want my house just to be built of wood. I don't need electronics involved. I also don't want microphones all over my house listening to me at all times.
Dude, that is so real. I get these random alerts of my random conversations like, hey, would you like to buy a new car? Or hey, what were you thinking about having for lunch? Here's this new bar. Like, are you guys really listening? So my house listening? Like, I don't want my personal business getting put out, you know?
I have a nanny cam in one of my rooms, and I've said some things in front of that nanny cam where I was like, oh no. Oh no, I'm getting fired and I'm getting divorced immediately. Moving on, a Duke administrator got 2 baristas at an on-campus coffee shop fired for listening to music. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes!
2 baristas were listening to Young Dolph's Get Paid when this administrator came in and was offended about the vulgarity of the music and then had them fired. Your thoughts?
Oh, man, this is a huge problem, man. We live in an era where you have freedom of speech, freedom of music, and times have changed. I get it. I'm sure they weren't blasting the music obscenely. Did they deserve to be fired for some hip-hop music? Nah, man. Come on, Duke. You gotta go somewhere with that.
I was totally with you. And I actually did some research on this. I was like, let me just listen to this song. Let me just listen to this and just see what it was like. There are some words that we probably wouldn't use on this broadcast. But however, here's what you do. You don't say we need to get these people fired. You say, do you guys mind not using songs with this type of language in it? Like, that doesn't seem like a fireable offense. It seems like a conversation.
Get an edited version.
Seems like a short conversation could have solved this problem instead of people losing their jobs. Finally, we're definitely going to get fired. The world's biggest orgy is being attempted in Vegas very soon. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes, my man. Hey, listen.
Just let me explain to the people what this is. Sin City 8 is the 8th convention it's basically a sex convention. And there was once an orgy that involved 250 men and 250 women in Tokyo. The people at Sin City 8 are saying, we're going to double that. We're going to have an orgy with 1,000 people. Please respond without getting us all fired.
You gotta have more respect for your body, man. You know, what is the future coming to, man? This is, is everybody tested in there? Is this even, where do you move on? Like, at what point in your life are you doing this?
I have so many questions.
This is not as cool as it seems.
I have so many questions that I'm not allowed to say on the middle of the afternoon on the Disney Network, but I will just say this. Very concerned about the smell.
Yes.
Ryan Hollins in for Jalen today, and we always say in this show, Ryan, that we give the people what they want, but part of that is not guessing what they want. It's listening to our listeners and taking voicemails. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can be part of the show. For some reason, Ryan, everyone gives our producer, Reggie, a shout-out. I find it annoying, but Reggie loves it. Let's listen to the first voicemail.
What up? This is Mike from Ohio. Shout-out Reg. Shout-out Rob. Shout out Jalen. Shout out Jacoby. Shout out to the whole crew. But my question is, do NBA players wear new shoes every game? Or do they rewear them? Always wanted to know that, Jalen. Give the people what they want. Thank you.
So there's a lot of things I love about this call. Number one, definitely medicinal. Shout to Mike in Ohio. Number two, we don't have anybody on the staff named Rob. He's probably got a friend named Rob. Just gave him a shout out. And we've gotten this question before, right? But I want to know your answer. What is your sneaker philosophy as an NBA player?
For me, I wore them into the ground till they fell off because I had to break them in. I had to wear them. I actually played a lot of defense in my time, so I had to be ready to move. But there are certain guys like a Blake Griffin or a Jamal Crawford, even Chris Paul would actually do that they would actually cycle out new shoes literally every single game or every 2 games. And, your body gets used to the comfort and feel of, hey, every time I move, I have a new shoe on. Or for me, I've actually rip them through the soles, before I change them. So it's all on the field.
Would you ever have a bad game? Would you go 2 for 10 from the field and just say, I need a new pair of kicks just to change something?
So I wouldn't change. See, there's some guys like Rudy Gay. Like, Rudy will literally change the model of his shoe every single game, and I could not do that. Like, I would stink it up if I changed shoes. So, like, I actually have to break in a new style of shoe, which would become a problem for the shoe companies. So Nike would be like, yo, we want you to wear a certain shoe, but me, I'm like, yo, I like that shoe that was last year's or 2-3 years ago. So this has always been a conflict. As players, like, we can't stand doing that.
Because they want to, they've got their own initiatives and what they want to sell. They want to sell the new stuff. So it's a good question because, we've brought up in this conversation, Blake Griffin and Chris Paul, and we all hear these deals. Kawhi Leonard's going to sign with this company for this many $1 million. But someone like yourself, who's a longtime veteran, productive basketball player, but not a household name, what was your shoe deal like? Did you always have a shoe deal? Were you getting paid on top of your salary, or was it? Did they send you as much stuff as they sent the stars?
Oh, we wouldn't get remotely as much stuff as the stars get, but you do get a nice little perk. I think of a guy by the name of PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker, why is he have the biggest shoe game in the world? Because he wore a size 14. You know who else was a 14? The Mamba. Interesting enough story. You know who else helped me out because I started playing in 17s, and every time I wanted some flight posits, some hyper dunks, something exclusive, they didn't make the mold in a size 17. Who helps me out? Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant signs a huge deal with Nike, throws in incentives. I get size 17, fly kicks. So it's kind of like a trickle down effect. And it also depends on the market you play in. When I was in Charlotte or Minnesota, I had so much money. When I went to LA, big market deal, it doubled my allotment of stuff I could get. So, interesting deal with the shoe game. Shout out to Nike.
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Durant.
Send me some exclusive Nike.
Every single little brother in the world just heard that story and was like, I know exactly what he's talking about.
Facts.
Thank you so much for the call, Mike in Ohio.
Mike's been hanging with Ricky Williams.
Yeah, he has. He's been investing with Ricky. He got that Bitcoin loot.
Yeah.
Do you own any cryptocurrency?
I do not.
Me neither.
I need to get into the game.
Is it because it's like I'm not going to invest in something I have no idea even what it is. Like I don't even know what it is. I mean, a lot of people made a lot of money. A lot of people made a lot of money on it, but I literally do not know what it is. I couldn't explain it to you if you asked me right now. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us voicemails. If you leave us voicemails, we'll play them on the show just like this.
Yo, Jalen Jacoby. What up, though? J Money from the North Atlanta. This is just a quick business call. So, Jacoby, after hearing you incessantly but smoothly insert ads into the podcast, I finally looked up Allbirds, and at first thought they were goofy. But as I set aside the haterade, I looked at it again. I was like, I might cop a pair of Allbirds. They better be comfortable, Jacoby. Jalen, I know you're not rocking any Allbirds. However, I just copped a bag, satchel, man purse, whatever people want to throw shade, call it. So just know, I'm in my bag all 2018. I think y'all should be too. Jacoby, if the Allbirds are nice, I'm going to call back, give you your props. Reg, shout out. You're the man. I know you're the glue that holds it together. The Force. Love the show. Keep getting your checks. And I'll be calling back to let y'all know about the Allbirds. Shout out.
Allbirds is a sponsor of our show, Ryan. They make sneakers that are made of natural fibers. And I think he's right. Like, when you look at them, they're not style sneakers. No. But as you get older, I'm 40 years old, I care about how sneakers feel as much as how they look.
Facts.
And it's like, they're like roller skates. You know what I mean? You just glide across the ground. It's like a waterbed for your feet. For real. And he said something, he was like, they better be comfortable. I promise you, they are comfortable. You'll be very happy with your Allbirds purchase. And I know Reggie well enough to know that what he did is he added this voicemail so he can sneakily add a read for Allbirds right after this topic. I know what he's thinking. So we'll move on to the other voicemail right now.
What up, Jalen and Jacoby? Shout out to my man Reg. I got this is B McCoy calling from Hampton, Virginia. I got a soft move or boss move, and I also got a little information on that coaching thing for Brad Stevens. So, soft move or boss move is I usually buy my son Jordans or LeBron James shoes. I saw a pair of KDs that I thought be pretty cool to give to him, so I bought them, broke them out, let him see them, and he said, "Oh man, you can sell them on eBay. I only wear Jordans and LeBrons." I was crushed. But is it a soft move or a boss move that my son at 9 years old has a standard? I think it's a boss move. Y'all guys let me know. Last thing, this coaching issue. I heard that guy Doc Rivers got some votes, and a guy for Toronto got some votes. As far as I'm concerned, all them coaches just trying to help them dudes keep their job. I think the coaches got together, said, man, these guys not looking too good for them. Season didn't go the way they wanted. Let's put this out here and make it seem like we think they did a real good job. Maybe they'll keep their job. Let me know what you think, guys. Keep getting them checks. Holla.
Well, we've got two issues from Kool-Aid here. Let's start with the first one.
Shout out.
He buys his son Jordan and LeBron's. Right there, he's already a better dad than me. Because I bought my son some Jordans. He just didn't respect them. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, they're $70. They end up dirty. And it's just like, why am I even going to bother with this? I'm going straight to the sale rack. And maybe his shoe game won't be like mine. But when he gets older, he can respect it. His son is 9, and he's paying like $150 for his shoes.
Exactly.
That's a boss move. That's a boss move. Yep. And his
that's
son,
so dope that he's just in his son's life and doing stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't care if you're LeVar Ball. I'm always commending that.
Thank you.
Dope.
Yes, he's being a great dad. And I have to say that when he was telling the story, I thought his son was like 15 or 16. You know
exactly.
what I mean? And when he said 9 years old, I was like, oh, he's got opinions about which teams and whatever.
I thought he was hanging with Ricky Williams, too. That's my first opinion.
That's just our audience. That's our audience. And then the second thing is something that we haven't talked about yet is 30 coaches around the league and the Coaches Association, they each have one vote that they can put their vote on whoever they think is the best coach of the year. Brad Stevens received 0 votes. Everyone's up in arms about it. What? I think Doc probably just voted for himself, right? You play for Doc. That's probably how it happened.
Yeah, man. Nah, but those coaches stick together. And right now, it's it's almost the worst position in basketball other than being the 15th man, you know? Yeah. Because when you can have a successful season and still get canned, winning doesn't mean success. Relating to players means success. And players are burnt out more than ever now. So an NBA coach is the worst position. So it's like, come on, Doc, we know you know what you're talking about. Let's help you out a little bit. So he definitely did not deserve a Coach of the Year vote. But his coach is looking out for coaches, man. That's a great take.
That's how it goes. Well, I want to appreciate everybody that called in. I want to say thank you to you, Ryan Hollins. We look forward to having you back. It's always nice to have a co-host that pays attention to the words that I say. And everybody look for Ryan. He's been in Bristol. He's on ESPN on every single show we got, any hour of the day. I'm sure he'll be covering the finals for us as well. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on all social media. We'll be back tomorrow with a very special guest, return of one of my favorites, Jamel Hill. That's tomorrow on Jalen and Jacoby. Thank you so much, Ryan.
We're not done. We're not done. Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
Allbirds wool runners are comfy shoes made from sheep. When you put them on, they feel astoundingly comfortable. They're so comfy, it'll feel like you're floating in a river of marshmallows. They also look good, too. Allbirds are designed simply, with no unnecessary logos. You can wear them to work or to play, in the office or out in the town. Allbirds is on a mission to prove that comfort, style, and sustainability don't have to be mutually exclusive. Go to allbirds.com and find your pair of soft, cozy